Hey, it's Dane Scott along with Furby.
Hi, Dane.
And today, for the second year in a row, just wrapped up 2021 with a sales year over six figures, about $140,000 in sales, after Fiverr tax about $112,000 in actual earnings on the platform where nobody's supposed to make any money. But I've been on it for a while now, and I know pretty much what it takes to get there. And the number one thing that has to be in place in order for you to succeed at that level. I'll talk about it coming up.
The Gig Doctor.
When I took that little Fiverr course back in 2017, I never imagined where my work was going to reach, what levels I would get to. There are certain things that absolutely have to happen in order to get those kinds of numbers, to reach up into the thousands per month, the tens of thousands, or the hundreds of thousands per year. But it can be done. And I'm going to be covering the most important aspect of that in our video today. And then at the end, I'll also mention a way you can tap into my very best marketing secrets on Fiverr at a nice discount. There's some videos I call head slappers. And
Can we get to the topic now?
okay, good point. We can circle back to the head slappers near the end. So at the end of each year that I've been on Fiverr, I think to myself, well, there's no way I'm going to be able to match that in the coming year. And then I wind up going over. How long can I keep that up? No idea. But again, as we start 2022, I have that same feeling like, oh, there's no way that I'm going to go over, 140,300 in sales, 112,000 after Fiverr commissions that I billed in 2021. I guess only time will tell. Let me set this up a little bit. Historically, in 1979, my wife and I moved to our present little hometown because she got a teaching job here, which compared to my DJ work at the time, it paid better than what I was making. And as it happened, there was actually an opening at our town's little local radio station. So I applied and I got the post. But it was a very small operation compared to where I'd worked previously with, well, frankly, pretty low standards as to what they expected from their staff. But the job was convenient. It was right nearby. And for the two of us, even with me not making a ton at that little radio station, the two of us together were making more than we'd ever made before. So we felt pretty good. And so I stayed at the station actually for 4 years. And, you know, it would have been so easy during those 4 years to become complacent and to let my standards slide while I was working there. Because there was no external motivation for me to improve. Some of the staff that were there, they were obviously just clocking in. They were doing their work the same way they always did, day after day. And after 4 years that I was there, I didn't really notice that they had moved much in terms of their skills or what they were able to do. For myself, I was so scared of stagnating that I almost overcompensated. So each day I tried to imagine myself working at a radio network or someplace with extra high standards that I had to try and reach. So even though I was even at this little local radio station, I tried to imagine myself at a radio network. And that was one of the things that helped me to kind of keep striving forward. I try to keep that in the back of my mind. So whenever I open the mic to announce, to read news, to voice a commercial, I tried to keep that always there in the back of my head. It was also during that period that I got an idea for a contemporary Christian DJ show, which ultimately I started and called Nightlight, which I started producing on the side, copying it onto tapes and sending it to radio stations in the U.S. and in the Caribbean. The station down in the Caribbean was a clear channel AM station. It got way out. It reached most of North and Central America, so that was especially kind of an exciting one to be on. And again there with Nightlight, the focus for me was on sounding as professional as I could, with an ear toward that kind of syndicated announcer style or network style that was popular at the time. So while I was still working at that little local yokel radio station, I was totally focused on growing and developing my skills. Meanwhile, already then in my 20s, I had this absolute fascination with voice and commercials. That was probably my favorite thing. Promos also, things like that. And that was the seed that ultimately grew into my work doing freelance voiceovers. So why am I mentioning all of this? Because the mindset is a big part of what will make you successful. Let's fast forward. way forward to 2017. I'd been doing voiceovers professionally as a freelancer for quite a few years, though they had been upstaged pretty significantly for nearly 20 years while I developed and marketed a radio automation system. As that wound down, I wanted to start doing more marketing of my voice again. And so at that point, I learned that Fiverr was a place where you could do that. So I took a course, and I learned the basics, and I dove in. Starting on Fiverr was humbling, though. I remember some of the jobs I had done in voiceovers back, in like the 1990s for major companies like Sears and Prangieway, which paid very well. And the idea of starting out again at rock bottom prices just seemed really humiliating. But as I had done back in 1979 at that little local station, I entered into the Fiverr arena with the idea that regardless of what I was being paid initially, I was going to try and do network quality work and even keep finding ways to improve more, to not only meet people's needs, but to overcompensate again for what was expected of me. I still remember when I got my first Fiverr order, $5 order, in fact. I was out in the yard, in the gazebo, and the little ping notification came. So I galloped into the house, and I sat down at the mic, and I recorded it, and I sent it off immediately. I got my first 5-star rating and a good review, and then a few days went by. I started getting nervous, and then I got my second order, and things just kind of grew from there to the point where now, well, I do voiceovers every day of my life, and sales are continuing to grow year on year. My average sale is high enough now that if I fulfill a few short scripts in an hour's time, we could calculate that my hourly rate is probably somewhere around $190. So despite that humble start on Fiverr, at this point, heck, I'm making more on Fiverr than I ever did at the height of my voiceover career back in the late 1990s. The thing we want to do, and this is the key that I referenced at the beginning, the key thing that we want to do on Fiverr, even from the most humble beginnings there, is to look at every job as though it's something high profile, as though we're working for a major client. It's kind of like the Sunday school kid who stands up in front of the little rural church congregation to sing a solo in the Christmas program, and instead of seeing that little congregation out there, she pretends she's singing at the Metropolitan Opera. Okay? So we need to sing to the back row on every job. And we need to keep developing our skills, discovering new ways to make ourselves even better and more appealing, too. Diversifying what we're able to do, too, so that we can offer other great services, but always on a focus on being great, on doing great. We don't want to just spawn a bunch of gigs and start offering things that we're not very good at. So I say stick to your knitting, do what you do best, and keep doing it better. There are lots of ways that we can market ourselves better, get found better, get noticed better, make more sales, but really the best way, the key, is building a reputation for doing great, great work. Now, the flip side of that. A singer for the Metropolitan Opera is probably someone who would sing to the trees in the forest for no money at all, just for the sheer joy of singing. But it'd be nice if more people could appreciate his or her talents than the trees. Same thing for you and your talents. You can develop them to the hilt, and you can slowly build up your business on Fiverr. So that when people do happen to stumble on you and place an order, they're surprised by how good you are, and they leave a solid review, and they call on you again in the future. But if you aren't accompanying your amazing art by amazing marketing, well, it's going to be a long, slow slog for you. Growth may come, but it's not going to come fast. So that's the other side of this whole thing. We need to have a terrific Fiverr gig. Everything needs to be set up great. Everything needs to shine, optimized to be found, optimized to be noticed, to convince, and to sell. We want it to all look great.
I like it when you make me look all groovy.
And that's what we can accomplish together in a Gig Doctor appointment. You can book a session at thegigdoctor.com, and we can meet over Zoom or Skype. While you're at gigdoctor.com, check out the Head Slapper videos. There are 4, plus a bonus 5th video for $149.95 total. And it's absolutely guaranteed you will earn more than it costs you. That's my personal guarantee to you. There's also a Gig Doctor bundle, by the way. where you can get both the head slappers and a gig doctor appointment, and that'll save you even more. So have a look at that if you like. I'd love to work with you. And that's a wrap for this time. Let me hear from you in the comments down below. Like and subscribe, and watch for a couple other Gig Doctor videos that'll pop up just after I sign off here. It'll be right at the tail end of this video. And we'll see you next time.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, I think.
Hello, cutie pie.
Until I heard the voice, I'd never done a crazy thing in my whole life.
Goodbye.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, I think.
Hello, cutie pie.
Until I heard the voice, I'd never done a crazy thing in my whole life.
Goodbye.